My two sons and I had an amazing moment in St. Louis that we will never forget. The three of us were on a road trip, booking our lodging along the way as we traveled through the Midwest back to our home in Colorado. One particular day on this trip, I realized if we made good time, we could end up in St. Louis by the evening. My heart leaped at this idea because one of my favorite spots in the world is in St. Louis. Massive piles of junk, masterfully designed into a jungle gym for people to explore and play on. I know it sounds crazy and it's hard to describe, but it's my Disneyland. It's a place where my heart comes alive, and I desperately wanted to show this to my boys. We pulled into the city on a perfect summer night. For a few hours, we were lost in time, exploring the maze of steel, climbing multiple stories, through old planes and buses, snaking through the caves, yelling to one another which crevice we should explore. We were caught in deep play. And then we took the elevator to the roof. This beautiful summer night, it was full of people playing and laughing and exploring. For a few hours, we were leaning over the edge. We were looking over the city, and this included an incredible view of the city, and oh yeah, the sun was starting to set over the city. We were a dozen floors above the ground, looking over the arch from a Ferris wheel as the sun was setting. We were drenched with sweat from constant movement, and our hearts were full from playing. I will never forget this night with my boys, but I also cannot recreate it. I don't have too many perfect moments in parenting, but this was one of them. But even that near perfect moment has a twinge of pain that my wife and daughters weren't there to experience it with us. The past, the present, and the future are all gifts to us, but they can become our greatest hindrance when we overemphasize them. I believe we all naturally value one of these directions more than the others. Leaders must be informed by our past, attentive to the present, and proactive toward the future if we're to live and lead with health and impact. As a leadership coach, I find myself processing all three of these directions with leaders constantly, and I observe the healthiest leaders have a proper view of each direction. Welcome to our Directions series, where I'll invite you to look into the rearview mirror at the past without getting stuck, savor the present without overindulging, and prepare for the future without escaping to it. Some of our greatest gifts are memories. That vacation, that conversation, that season of impact. But they're also our greatest tortures. That thing that was done to you, or that thing that you did that you can't seem to shake, that it will potentially define everything about you if you let it. Moments mark our lives for good or for ill. They hold deep joy and deep pain for us. I once had a lady in one of our cohorts who was carrying deep pain. Her son was literally going blind. She wondered if she could quit her job and take her son to all the beautiful places in the world so he could remember them before he lost his sight. I'm telling you, that thought absolutely wrecked me. Sometimes moments flip from torture to opportunity. With some deep work, our worst moments can become a gift to us that we can share with others, and others can relate to. A mentor of mine shared with a group of us as we sat around and listened to his life and the pain that he'd experienced. His deepest pain had been translated into his life's work, and it impacted thousands, if not millions of people. These painful personal stories, they're always inspiring. When people flip them, they seem to be the catalyst somewhere below the surface for almost every nonprofit or initiative that I've come into contact with. Now, ironically, our best memories can become a weight around our necks when we try to recreate the past. Other times, we simply try to recreate parts of our lives, like our youth or these simpler seasons of life. This can become a terrible illusion and an escape from the current reality of our life and leadership. As leaders, we can fool ourselves. We can think that we can go back to the past. We have this selective memory on how great of a contributor or a leader we were in certain seasons, but we forget all the areas of struggle and pain and immaturity. This is all of us. We all had this stuff but we forget it. Friends, the good old days weren't as great as we remember them to be. Every leader is in danger of selective memory, when the past limits us from a beautiful future. Before becoming a leadership coach, I served as a pastor and a church planting catalyst for 13 years. These years held some of the greatest development opportunities of my life. People threw me the ball and let me cut my teeth in new areas. I would not be a coach and author without these years and without these experiences, and I will be forever grateful. But they were also brutal. I fell on my face in front of people plenty of times. I was confronted with the deep pain that people carry, and they even turned that pain on me at times. Sometimes I felt like a fish out of water, and I longed to do something similar to what I'm doing right now. I need to hold both the joy and the pain of my past and that season in tension. They both shaped me. Mature leaders learn how to hold the gift and the pain of past memories while moving forward into the future. I recently sat with a friend who had launched an incredible city-changing endeavor. They had changed the fabric and ethos of their city, but he realized it was likely time to let it go and serve the city in different ways. That right there is maturity. Leaders shape the future through the windshield, not through the rearview mirror. But it's important to have that vantage from the rearview mirror to know where are we going and how does that inform us, our present, and ultimately the future that we're helping to create. I've watched leaders since the pandemic continually refer to things that were pre-COVID. Now, here's my observation. The leaders who talk about it a lot, very frequently, which makes me believe that they're comparing today to the past and refusing to fully embrace the opportunities of the future. Not only is that sad, it's unhelpful. I want to be an old man and a seasoned leader who embraces the stages and phases of my life and leadership. I've been taking time recently to reflect on where I've come from as a leader and as a parent and where I'm going. And this has become a discipline for me. It's not easy to look back at the past. I naturally look ahead to the future. I'm future oriented, and that can actually become an escape from reality. So for me, to look back at the past, to meaningfully reflect is a discipline for me. As I head into the sage years, I appreciate the youthfulness and the energy, the margin for error that I had in the past. Many times, if that week I was exhausted, I could just make it up on the weekend. People took chances on me, and I had space to risk big, and I will be forever grateful for that. But I also embrace the limitations of different areas of my life that my kids have brought me, my career has afforded me. As amazing as the gifts in my life have been, there are also limitations, and I have to accept both of those. Perhaps your best days are ahead of you, but not in every area. It doesn't mean that you'll be as physically fit or as sharp with details as you used to be, but if you mature well, you will be wiser and more grounded in your priorities. That's what I'm after. We all have pain in our past, and if you serve and lead people, you will be hurt by them, period. It will happen. Leaders, we must do the work to process our pain, or it will show back up in our lives. And we will accidentally direct that pain toward our family, our friends, and our colleagues. Those painful moments may not have been your fault, but they are your responsibility to process. We're going to leave you some time for reflection here during this series. So during this time, I want you to reflect on the last decade of your life in leadership. Here are some questions for you. What are the 3 most formative memories burned into your brain from the last decade of your leadership? Why were they so formative? What is one beautiful defining memory from your friendships over the last decade? And what's one painful memory? And last, what's one beautiful defining memory from your family the last decade? And what's one painful memory? If we can appreciate how the past has shaped us through the beautiful and broken moments, we can leverage it for gratitude and awareness that shapes our present and our future. Next week, we'll look at the present.